Let's talk to Dr. Innocent Okwuosa. He is the chairman of the Nigerian Integrated Reporting Committee and the immediate past chairman of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He's seated, and let's get to this conversation this afternoon. Dr. Okwuosa, thank you so much. It's good to have you live in the studio.
Thank you, Tolu, for having me. Longest time.
Yes, it's been a while. Now, I think you heard from my submission to pause or suspend FRSC levies, giving to many complaints from stakeholders, manufacturers, NECA, and all of that. We've seen complaints back to back immediately after that institution. Now, what is your take with regards to that word suspension or pending a review of this law?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to state that I was in the hall.
Yes, in that meeting.
In that meeting where that decision was taken, and honestly speaking, I do not understand what that word means, pause or suspend. Well, she has cleared the bit of suspend, but the pause still remains. And why it's difficult to understand pause is the Financial Reporting Council is meant to be carrying out some duties, the financial reporting regulation. Financial Reporting Council has about 5 mandates around audit, accounting, corporate governance, actuary, valuation, and all that. And then the Financial Reporting Council has staff who report to work every day to enforce those things that are contained in Financial Reporting Act. So if we say we pause, are we saying those staff will stop coming to work? Because that's exactly what they come to work every day to do. So if you then pause, are we saying that they are not going to function? I was in the hall when that meeting was going on. And what it looks like is, I don't know the word to describe it, because it is doubtful whether if you put the regulator and the regulated in one room, and then you ask the regulated, would you want to be regulated? Of course, you have to get an obvious answer.
Yeah. You
do not put FIRS, that's the Federal Land Revenue Services, and taxpayers, and ask taxpayers, do you want to pay tax? What do you think they're going to say? So, and I want us to be very careful, very, very careful in the signal that we send. I mean, the academics, and there's this thing we do in the academy we call the signaling theory. So you signal things, and the market will capture what you are signaling. We have made a lot of progress in Financial Reporting Council. Before, in the last 1 year, they have activated 2 directorates that were redundant before, the actuary and evaluation. They are functioning. They have repository now. You can submit your financial statements, digital way of submitting your financial statement. That's the progress we've made. They've started inspection, review. When I was ICAN President, I visited the Financial Reporting Council to sign an MOU so that we can begin to review audit firms and the work they do. That sends a lot of signal in the market. I work with Pan-African Federation of Accountants, and we cover so many jurisdictions in the work that we do. Of course, last year I led an entourage of ICAN Council to visit the Financial Reporting Council of UK. And it was a working visit to enable us to have a first-hand information on how they operate. And then we got first-hand information of how Financial Reporting Council of the UK operates. It is not different from what our Financial Reporting Council, the way the Financial Reporting Council operates. Perhaps we'll get to the real issue that is causing all that, and then we'll see that it doesn't look like there is that much difference between what they're asking for and what they ought to be. So, I want us to be very careful so that we do not roll back the hands of the clock. Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria has made tremendous progress. Today, it is viewed as #1 corporate reporting regulator in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally. Certain steps they have taken. I know Brazil was racing to beat Financial Reporting Council on a particular regulatory issue. Ghana had to come to Nigeria to learn from what Financial Reporting Council is doing in that respect. So a lot of progress has been made within this period. We should not send out a signal that will tell the global community that we are taking a step back. That is not going to be good for the capital market. Financial Reporting Council is the authority that regulates the capital market information. And what we need is a strong regulator, not a weak regulator. Because the moment you send that signal that you have a weak regulator,
then there's a problem.
Then there's going to be a problem.
Let me ask you how you compare FRSC levies here and what's obtained in other jurisdictions.
Good enough. In that town hall meeting that we were on Wednesday, they brought a comparative analysis of what FRSC is charging vis-a-vis other jurisdictions. And it was clear that the FRC levy is less than what other jurisdictions were charging, including Ghana, Kenya, South Africa. We won't even talk about UK, because you know UK is on a different level, and the UK market cannot be compared to Nigeria. But one thing we must also note is that the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria is unique in its mandate, because it has no mandate like those other jurisdictions that they're comparing. When we transitioned to IFRS, there is this regulatory models that you want. Is it going to be self-regulation, or is it going to be an independent regulation? So in Ghana, for instance, it is the accounting profession that is regulating the financial reporting. In Kenya, it's the same. But Nigeria chose the model of the UK. And you see why the model in Ghana or Kenya may not work. In Ghana, we have only one accounting profession.
Yeah.
And therefore, that same accounting profession is the one regulating. In Nigeria, you have 2 professional accountancy bodies. And then there are others that are also. So you cannot even say you want to pass the regulation to the accounting profession. So we need to look at that model that we have introduced, which is an independent regulator that regulates both the accounting profession and the financial reporting. So they need this support so that they can do this work, rather than something that would look like they are being weakened. I call it regulatory capture. When you engage in regulatory capture, what you try to do is to weaken the regulator. And this can happen through so many ways, just like the town hall meeting, or through funding, as the case may be. So when you don't have the money, I mean, if you don't provide the fund necessary for the regulator to work, then the regulator is going to be weakened. So, and I think that's the area that we need to look at, because the dues as a result of the funding structure that we have. The funding structure we have for the UK environment, for Ghana environment, and for Kenya or South Africa, as the case may be, are a bit different from the Nigerian situation. And then there are the other bit of it, which we won't go into much, because that is government. Yeah. You know, in terms of even the dues that they come, and they are not even available to FRC itself. We don't want an FRC that is unable to go and do his work. Today, FRC is supposed to regulate the big 4 firms. Imagine the technology they have within. Imagine the human resources that they have within themselves. And the 6th FRC is supposed to go and inspect the work that they do. And the staff of FRC, of Financial Reporting Council, are expected to have the same skills, or more skills, because they are regulators, than you have for the big 4 firms. Do they have the resources to do all that? So when we talk about the dues, we should look at the dues vis-a-vis the mandate that FRC has been given, and how are they supposed to fund those activities? I'm aware, Tolu, I tell you one time, there are international, there's a UNCTAD ISA, for instance, that meet in Geneva every year. I used to go to UNCTAD ISA from ICAN. ICAN used to sponsor me to go. But FRC was not able to go because they can't fund their staff traveling. And this is a forum where you see other regulators that come and they discuss regulation of financial reporting, and you are not able to be there. But you know what? Progress has been made in the 1 year. FRC is now the chairman of UNCTAD ISA. Currently, FRC is the chairman of IFIA, the African Audit Group, and all this progress has been made. So there are agreements that FRC has reached with all these other regulators that need to be maintained. So the problem we are now going to create is when we send this signal that you're pausing, what they're going to pick is that maybe there is political interference. And that is a signal, a wrong signal that we're setting. FRC is supposed to protect the market. The capital market is going to pick this information. And then that is not good for us. So we need to be very careful in Nigeria.
What's really the issue around the definition of PIEs? Because that's also an issue that some have identified. Is there any issue about the understanding of the pure definition of PIEs and how it differs from other jurisdictions which you're familiar with?
Okay, good. So the public interest entities, we cannot say there's a universal definition, so to say. It is jurisdictional based. Each jurisdiction will have to look at what constitutes its public interest entities. So I think what has happened in our own situation, because the quarrel is around maybe some private companies that have been included in the definition. Tolu, I tell you what has happened even in the global financial reporting. FRC was, I remember in one UNCTAD ISA seminar that we went, FRC stood up to to ask the question, who regulates the charities, NGOs? And there is nobody that regulates them. So if I'm in my own jurisdiction, I discover that these people play a very important role, I can do my definition to include them. Take the concession, what's it called, Lagos-Calabar road that is being constructed now. What do they call it? Coastal Road.
Coastal Road.
And the company handling that is a private company. It reports nobody. It doesn't submit its financial statement to anybody. Government is going to fund such, and we'll be talking about trillion. So if in our jurisdiction, we now look at it that this kind of company has nobody submitting his financial statement to, and the failure will have significant impact on the economy. We could define our public interest entities to include such private company. So you cannot come and be saying, oh, it's a private company, and therefore it should not be included in the definition. So I think we need to look at it from the perspective of its jurisdiction and the peculiar nature of such businesses.
Good. Interesting.
And that's what defines.
Let's get your recommendations and solutions to this problem, this back and forth, because I've had to speak with manufacturers, I've had to speak to NECA, all parties around this, and now I'm speaking to the Reporting Council, and which you're speaking around now, the positives of this and what it actually means. What will be the recommended solutions? Because we must get a headway out of this.
Okay, so like I said, there is nowhere you can put a regulator and regulated on the same room. And you say, do you want to be regulated? Of course, you're going to go to know the answer. I think what should happen is that if we have complaints or issues around certain things, then we engage the regulator privately. Well, I think it's in the same direction as we suggested. A technical working group is going to be set up. FRC is going to be in there, and they are going to meet and look at each situation, look at what obtains in other jurisdictions. Incidentally, we have discovered that the FRC dues is lower than in many jurisdictions. One person asked, you've shown us where your dues are less, but you didn't tell us where your dues are higher. But the fact is that there is no place that the FRSC due is higher in any jurisdiction than you have in any jurisdiction. So let the technical committee examine these complaints and then come up with what would be an amicable or a middle ground. I heard the minister was saying, you asked for this, but you're not going to get this. So I think that's the middle point that will be the way out. But I warn that we should not try in any way to do things that will weaken Financial Reporting Council. Today, UK FRC relies on the audit by Financial Reporting Council. The moment they see that you don't have a strong regulator, the UK Financial Reporting Council will want to come and do the the audit directly by themselves. But when you have a strong regulator, they are going to rely on that. And then that's the huge money that Nigeria is saving from that. Recently, Financial Reporting Council became the #1 reference point as it has advanced the corporate reporting space, talking about sustainability, and is the first country in Africa to. So they have made so much progress that we should not in any way try to weaken. And that would be my recommendation.
Thank you so much. We'll keep a tab on this. I think it's still a running story, so we'll see how it plays out. And definitely, we need your views. We'll definitely have you in. Dr. Innocent Okwuosa, immediate past president, ICAN, chairman, Nigerian Integrated Reporting Committee. Thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with us. We appreciate this.
Thank you very much.
All right, there. Well, coming up next on the show,